Greetings dear viewers and welcome back to the review program. This episode of discussion will be about the ecological sector of Uzbekistan. But before we dive into a more detailed discussion, my colleague Dilrabo Tajanova has conducted surveys with the local residents about their views on the ecological sector in Uzbekistan as well as their contribution to that matter.
There is much work to do in Uzbekistan's ecology field. Dust storms have been observed recently, along with significant air pollution. To tackle these issues, we should plant trees and ensure proper disposal of garbage in dedicated containers.
Ecology
in Uzbekistan is generally good, but the growing number of private cars is causing air pollution due to the excessive gas emissions. I contribute to improving the environment by planting trees and disposing of rubbish in containers rather than on the streets. Today is my second day in Tashkent. The city greeted me with a pleasant atmosphere. In Moscow, the temperature was -2 degrees Celsius, and when I arrived in Tashkent, it was +30 degrees Celsius. I'm enjoying the autumn weather here.
I work for an international organization dedicated to enhancing air quality, with a primary focus on combating air pollution. We are addressing various factors, including building construction, the increasing number of cars, and other related issues. Our organization is currently developing a concept to address these challenges.
Uzbekistan is characterized by the variety of ecosystems that include the Aral Sea Basin, the Kızılkum Desert mountain regions such as Pamir Alai and fertile river valleys. These ecosystems support a rich area of flora and fauna, including rare and endangered species. According to the Convention on Biological Diversity, Uzbekistan is home to around 5,400 species of plants and 1,200 species of vertebrates.
Despite its natural beauty, Uzbekistan faces several significant environmental challenges. The primary challenge in Uzbekistan's ecology sector is heavy reliance on natural resources to support the country's economy. Natural resources such as gas, coal, and cotton have been central to Uzbekistan's economy development, leading to high level of pollution and degradation of the environment. Agricultural practices such as cultivation of cotton have led to widespread soil erosion, loss of biodiversity, and water scarcity. However, there have been some recent positive developments in Uzbekistan's ecology sector. The government has launched several initiatives to promote environmental protection, such as reforestation programs and the implementation of green technologies. The country has also adopted a green economy strategy aiming to balance economic growth with environmental sustainability.
Uzbekistan's ecology sector has faced significant challenges due to the human activities leading to environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, and water scarcity. However, the country has the potential for significant environmental improvement through the adoption of sustainable policies and practices. The government's efforts towards a green economy and environmental protection initiatives are positive steps towards a more sustainable future. However, it is essential to continue addressing the challenges in the ecology sector to ensure the protection and preservation of the country's environment and biodiversity. To discuss in detail the challenges that Uzbekistan faces in the ecological sector, we have invited a special guest, a country representative of the Global Growth Institute in Uzbekistan, Dr. Aaron. Good evening, Dr. Aaron. It's really nice to have you in our studio today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we start our discussion, I would like to show you a report that we're going to watch together and then reflect on it.
On 15 February 2023, GGI and AFT signed an agreement for the project to organize the free touristic zone Charvak activities. During the second consultation, the focus was prioritizing the 8 sustainable issues outlined in the scoping report. The plan included allocating $7 million in direct investment to address these problems.
Implementation of the project will start on 15 February 2023 and is planned to finish on 15 December 2024. Project activities consist of 4 phases: preparation and screening, scoping and sea study, stocktaking and learning.
A workshop highlighted a very important set of priorities. It was clear that the degradation of biodiversity and deforestation is a source of concern. Also, erosion and the danger of landslides and flooding is a source of concern, and that is due to unsustainable infrastructure development. In addition, there's some concern about the sustainability of the waste management stream. The construction of hotels and dachas and houses, this results also in a lot of waste. Construction building waste as well as household waste. So it is clear that stakeholders are concerned by that.
During the sessions, the overview of the project were presented to the local stakeholders. The main identified problems were discussed, and Charvak tourist zone was divided into 20 areas that are currently suffering from environmental challenges. Currently, 20 areas have been designated into the tourist zone. The efforts are underway to pinpoint the areas with high population density, excessive waste generation, and traffic congestion to assess their environmental impact. The 8 environmental issues were examined in the separated areas, covering water management, agriculture, construction, energy and transportation. The CE project outlines measures to support the tourism sector in Charvak.
What, in your opinion, are the major ecological challenges that Uzbekistan faces today?
Thank you very much. So this was one example of a specific project that we're implementing in the region of Charvak. I would say overall in Uzbekistan, we cannot go without mentioning the drying of the lake bed of the Aral Sea and the reduction in availability of water resources as an overarching challenge for the country and the region in terms of its ecological impacts. And this has been highlighted previously by the government, by the Presidential Director for the designation of the Aral Sea as a zone of innovation. However, it will continue to be a challenge as regional water availability will be a significant shortage. But as this project identifies, there are additional challenges more associated with the increasing wealth and urban development. This is a problem because we're inviting tourists to enjoy a beautiful area of the country like in Charvak. And similarly, with increasing income levels in cities, the issues of sustainable urban development are similarly an issue, whether it relates to waste or traffic and congestion. These are also issues that we need to take very seriously.
Uzbekistan is known for its diversity ecosystem, starting with the arid deserts and ending up with the mountain ranges. How do this diverse ecosystem contribute to the overall dynamics of ecology in Uzbekistan?
So Uzbekistan and Central Asia in general are the origins of most of the fruit and nuts that we consume around the world. All the apples, the plums, the apricots, and many of the nuts, their wild ancestors are found in the mountains of Uzbekistan. So you have a great home of biodiversity here. At the same time, you have areas that are very dry with very different ecological conditions. And so the government has to conduct tailored interventions in different areas. In the mountains, where there's more rain potentially, it's very different from in the deserts. So the government is taking a lot of initiatives to protect biodiversity in different regions of the countries, and each region needs a tailored approach with different types of tree species, different types of wildlife need to be protected in different ways.
In terms of tourism, what should be implemented in the mountainous areas so that the tourism potential will be increased forward?
So there's different types of tourism. To date, a large proportion of the expansion right now is very much focused on large-scale tourist infrastructure for new ski resorts and new large hotels. And this is going to provide a very significant investment as well as attract a lot of tourism from outside the country to come to Uzbekistan. However, we also need to consider the needs of the national population, particularly who live in Tashkent. And their interests may be a little bit different. And there's a greater interest maybe for dachas and smaller dwellings and different kinds of entertainment opportunities. And not everyone wants to stay in a very large hotel. Some people want a more natural space. So I think there are different opportunities in different areas of the Charvak region where we can focus more on developing the very large tourism infrastructure, like the big hotels, the ski resorts, and then there could be other areas that build more on the local ecological context, maybe connecting more with the local culinary and cultural traditions so that people can connect more with the local culture as well as the environment. And maybe they like more hiking and more passive environmental activities.
Don't you think that these projects may negatively impact the Charvak area?
Certainly. There's a very large risk of that if it's not done sustainably. Currently, most of the large projects, every project has to implement an environmental impact assessment. And so they have to determine what is the impact going to be, and they have to say what they will do to reduce that. And so that is already a very good step. Now, what our project is doing is looking at the all of these projects together, if you add them up together, what will the impact be? And so it's very important that the government is doing this. They've prioritized this because they realize that you can have an impact from one place, from one hotel, but if you have 20 hotels next to each other, the impact is very large. You can't just add them up mathematically. And so this is why the government has prioritized a strategic assessment of the environmental impact, and they're concerned. They have identified waste management, construction waste, degradation of the landscape as issues that they're concerned by. So we're aiming to try and find some solutions.
Uzbekistan is pushing forward the sustainable development right now. Don't you think there might be any obstacles or challenges when trying to reach to that level of sustainable development?
If we don't set priorities, then we face those challenges. In the end, you have to prioritize one thing over another. And so, but I would say the National Green Economy Strategy Framework, the Yashil Makan program for greening of the country, as well as the establishment of this zone for tourism and recreation, these are clear indications that the government wants to prioritize certain things. And if we now identify measures, say we will measure this outcome or that outcome, and we will prioritize the investments that do not impact things negatively, then it can be addressed. If it is not managed well, then if we only focus on investment attraction, those investors will not always have the interest of the environment at heart. So it's the job of the government to identify what the priorities should be in each area of Charvak and set requirements for the different types of hotels, the different types of dachas and facilities to make sure that the overall impact is well managed.
Are there any specific ecological conservations that you have highlighted for yourself personally?
So within this region itself, there's an active program to protect the snow leopards. This is a project operated by the government. Snow leopard is an endangered species, so it's very important that we protect the habitat of the snow leopard. You have many other very, very special environmental places, like the Nefriti lakes, which are very beautiful. And I think the government would like to, they have established a new committee focused on ecotourism. And this is, I think, very important. Before, there may not have been a department for ecotourism. So now, the fact you've established a department for ecotourism means that you will prioritize activities to make tourism more sustainable. So I think there's many activities that are ongoing. In this area, it's amazing the amount of investment that is happening. There's a number of large investments that are now underway to develop all of the recreational infrastructure in that area, and potentially to bring lots of jobs. But the key issue is, can we make sure that they are sustainably developed? Yeah.
How does Uzbekistan ecological situation, you have observed, I know you have observed many countries, compared to global level, how do you compare the ecological situation of Uzbekistan to other countries?
Overall, I would say the people of Uzbekistan are quite concerned. They're aware of environmental issues. If I look at this area, though, it is overall much better than many places. It is not terrible at all. I think some stakeholders I'm glad that they're very concerned. It means that we can address the issue before it becomes a very large problem. So right now the protection of the water of the Charvak Reservoir, as it is a national priority, that's very important because that means we're protecting the landscape around it, reducing erosion, we're avoiding waste going into that water. So by protecting that water as a strategic body, that is enabling many other aspects of the environment to be protected. There are issues to be addressed, I think in particular with regard to establishing standards for hotels and tourism facilities to make sure that they use more energy efficient technologies, renewable energy, power generation, that they manage more of their waste stream themselves rather than simply sending it to a landfill. There are many of these issues that can be addressed, and that we'll have recommendations for, like, this type of institution should adopt this, and other kinds of institutions can have different approaches. So I think people are concerned, and I know I can see some of the damage that is done, but overall I do not, in terms of this area, see the environment to be heavily spoiled. I think it's a very beautiful area with great potential.
Public awareness in this case is really important. How can we do this efficiently so that people understand that environmental protection is very important, it's our future?
Yes. I think that is the most important part. The government can set regulations, they can establish fines, but if you don't get the interest and the commitment of the people behind you, then it is impossible to enforce all those fines. I would say the most successful behavior change or cultural change ideas, they don't happen through fines. They really happen through awareness-raising campaigns of the youth. And so the government does quite a lot of special days where they commemorate a day for waste or a day for another key theme. In some countries, one could look at models for developing and supporting the development of eco-clubs in schools. We have them here in schools, but I don't know how much support they receive in terms of leading the collection of data on the environment. In other countries, it's the schools that collect all the information about the streams, about the health of the water, of the fisheries in the streams. They do garbage collection activities, they do the recycling activities, and they take those messages home. The children bring the new ideas. Old people don't have very many new ideas because we get used to doing the things that we do. And we're busy. Younger kids, and just like the climate change initiatives, the youth have been very strong in pushing the global decision makers to change the pathway. This is very important in Europe and in America. You see how mobilized the youth are. And I think this is a huge asset to Uzbekistan, to mobilize the youth on a regular basis, not through just specific days, but support all these clubs in schools and in NGOs to support them to take on large initiatives.
Yeah. How do you envision the future of ecotourism in Uzbekistan and overall environmental situation in the country?
So in terms of ecotourism, I think Uzbekistan, it is largely untapped. Uzbekistan, in my personal view, has its primary objective has been on cultural tourism and of the beautiful Silk Road cities, and justifiably so. And so ecotourism is a new opportunity, and right now, if you're looking for an experience as a foreigner, this is something that we do in our home countries as well. It's called agrotourism or ecotourism, where you stay in a house that uses renewable energy, recycles all of its waste. It has ecological sanitation systems, and I will choose that hotel or dacha over a different one. I will pay more for that. Similarly, but that is something that I think has the potential to evolve here. So people like to be part of a movement. And if you give them the opportunity, it doesn't have to cost much more, but if you give them the opportunity and the government can give incentives to those hotels and dachas, okay. Everybody put solar panels on their roofs, everybody do water efficiency solutions, you do your own waste management separation, and then you get some kind of incentive or a certification, and people will come to you. So I think the potential is very large. I think it is not as well developed as it could be, so I think there's a lot of potential.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I had the pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, dear viewers, for watching this program, and see you in the next episodes.